Kukavice.
Let's go.
Oh, Zlati. No, what was that Dino Merling song?
I hate Dino Merlin, I don't know. Do you want to start or do I?
You can start. Ladies first.
Oh, damn. My name's Andjela. I study fine arts, painting, and on the side I do music. I play bass, and that's basically 50-50 of my life. So I do kind of equal parts of both of those.
Okay, in my case, it's much different because I actually finished studying environmental management. So my duties consist of hugging trees and being nice to squirrels. But other than that, I
have a
also
few at my university.
What?
Squirrels.
Squirrels?
Yeah.
You're afraid of them? Like
no,
a phobia?
I have a few at my university.
A few?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said fear. And I also play bass, also do some vocals, but mostly bass. I'm not that good at it, but I just do it so I can hang around actually talented musicians and have fun with them. Yeah. And my name is Elmir. I forgot to actually introduce myself. So for me, growing up where I grew up and being around people who actually consider it a taboo, being around like Serbians in particular, it was just an interesting experience because growing up thinking that like you guys will eat me or something like that was interesting. And then when we got together and we were getting like those smoke breaks and all of us communicating with each other and having fun and actually making jokes out of our suffering and differences, it was such an interesting thing. My first year in Skopje was like a full-on, how would you call, removing of a veil which had been between how things are and how I had seen them till then.
I don't think the school specifically changed anything for me because I've lived not in Mitrovica, well, in places where everything is mixed and not physically divided. So in the school, I basically saw everyone as just a stranger, not anything else.
It must have been different for you actually. For me, it was such an interesting and experience.
Yeah, I think I had no fears to get over or any sort of judgments.
Well, it was the opposite for me.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, we actually started speaking about music first because we were all it's a music band, so we were talking actually about music and we were getting into our favorite bands, like favorite instruments, like, oh, have you heard this bass line, have you done this, have you done that? And then slowly the conversation progressed to something more personal and more like individual about each other. It has happened not only with you but with other people, and it was interesting. Like I got to actually experience you guys for you guys and not the image that had been created in my head. So it was interesting.
Yeah, I think first came the musician part of everyone, and then later the identity and whatever as a joke or as a serious conversation. But I think the first impressions were usually just like music or what else you do in life.
Yeah.
I think the atmospheres in rehearsals are like you're just focused on music and what you're doing and what you're making or creating. And then later in the city with people whom you wouldn't consider your friends or musician colleagues or whatever, it's a bit different because here it's kind of, there's those big prejudices of everyone, like judgments. And I think not a lot of people share opinions because we're in the rehearsal rooms willingly or by choice, whereas the people outside are just living there and have to face
each other on a daily basis and stuff. In my case, the first time I went to Skopje, which I don't think you were there in that year.
I wasn't.
It was me, Elhame, if the girl with the
I
curly hair.
remember.
But it was also Nemanja and Shecherko. So we were like a melting pot of a band, like not only different ethnicities, but also different colors. So it was super interesting for us, and we were so hyped. Like every single person in that room had something to share, had something to give.
Yeah.
And like our rehearsal rooms were so energetic. We were it. People would come from other rooms to just listen and see us because we were jamming. We were not just making music, we were jamming, having fun, and that was so fun. But then we had decided that we want to keep doing music together after we were done with Skopje. But that lasted so shortly, like only 2 or 3 weeks of rehearsals because of different reasons. We were planning on doing the rehearsals in the south side, and not everyone from the north branch wanted that. I can only assume the reasons, but I'm not gonna say something that is hypothetical here. So we basically just broke the band up very soon after we were done in Skopje.
Yeah, I think the initial excitement in Skopje is because you're mixed, basically thrown in a random band, and then everyone is just connected by wanting to create something that's going to be enjoyable for everyone. Whereas if you want to continue doing it here, as you said, not everyone wants to cross the bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had things like that happen for people not wanting to come to the north side, but I've personally never seen a problem with it.
Yeah, same goes to me, but each their own, I guess.
Yeah, but also maybe because I'm not from Mitrovica, and then it's not as big of a deal for me.
No, I think it's not just the issue within themselves, it's also just how everyone else around them sees it.
Yeah, their reactions. Yeah. On stage, I don't think anything else, because hi, I'm Andjela, I'm a bass player, is shown. And I don't think no one else cares because you're on stage and you're focused on playing it right and enjoying your time there.
For me, I am a very soft-spoken individual, very chill most of the time, but when I get to the stage, I can show that pent-up aggression. I don't know how to express it, but it just feels like, especially when we do heavier music, like with a punk band I was in, we would get shit-faced drunk and just yell. You can beep that out.
I think I do the opposite, actually, because I move and talk much more outside of the stage, and then when I'm on stage, I'm just like, oh, you have to do it right. Don't move, you have to do it right.
No. Yeah.
Basically, the opposite sides come out.
For me, it's just that, if you haven't done the work behind it till then just wing it, have fun, do whatever you can, and expect whatever comes from you to be shown to others. And if they enjoy it, they do. If they don't, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. I've never experienced a change in feelings, emotions, or opinions outside of rehearsal rooms, except for I think we're becoming better friends, or I don't know, feeling good with what you did inside without any I don't know, I guess I've rarely ever experienced negative emotions, but that's more how we worked out as a band, as bandmates.
No, for me it's I don't like it how short-lived these things are. During that week, I get to have fun with people, and I usually enjoy the presence of the friends I make. And for me, it's a bummer that I don't get to spend more time with them after we come back to Kosovo and Mitrovica. For me, this is a good opportunity for us as musicians is a good opportunity to hang out, make music, have fun, exchange opinions and stuff like that. But just it being short-lived, like a week, and then the contact breaks, and you just have to wait for like another full year to be able to do the same.
To hang out again.
Yeah, and that's why I try to frequent like coffee shops and places within North sometimes, and just get to see people I've become friends with, say hi, like exchange a conversation. And just, if this was a perfect world, people would be able to keep speaking to each other, keep being together, no matter the circumstances or whatever the mass opinion is.
Yeah, true.
As I just mentioned, they barely exist after the Skopje summer school ends.
Yeah, well, it's obviously more frequent, and I think it's more people, but I've kept contact with people I was closest with during those weeks, and I see them very often here, or whenever we get the opportunity, because the age difference, the work differences, the studying and everything. But usually I keep my friends close, I think. The ones I bonded most with there.
That's good.
I haven't had any negative reactions. I've come across skeptical people, but I don't think I got anything negative or something like that's like, oh, that's bad for you, don't do it, because I don't really surround myself with those kind of people.
Exactly, that was going to be my point. Like, depending on who you choose to spend time with, other than, of course, your close family members, they can have an opinion on that, and I would appreciate it, but not necessarily take it. But on both sides, you have people who would go highly against it or okay with it. It just depends on your circle. If you surround yourself with people who are okay with it, then of course your answer would be, no, I haven't heard anything bad about this being the case. So it would just depend.
Yeah, I know it happens. I just haven't personally experienced any hate or anything similar.
Yeah, I'm quite an extrovert, so depending on whom I tell, and I don't keep it a secret, I would get different reactions.
Yeah.
That is something I had to do for sure. It was while I was working in Pristina, and I had some people there who had been highly affected by the past, and of course people who have something like tragic happen to them or their family members will not necessarily align with what you want them to align with and think the way you want them to think. So it has happened before, but it's something we have to deal with.
Yeah, I've obviously explained it a bunch of times, but I've never felt the need to, because I wouldn't do it if I didn't want to.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying I was held at gunpoint and had to justify myself. Why did you do this? But sometimes the need is there, especially if you're trying to be as transparent with people and as honest with them.
Yeah, questions have to be answered.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest, I don't care.
No, neither. Only difference is not speaking my own language.
Exactly. Again, I think different people would answer this differently. Like, it's just based on their character, what some people are conscious about things that I'm not conscious about or care about, so no.
Personally, I don't think so. I wouldn't do it if I was. Obviously, you'll get a bunch of different reactions, but what I do, or musicians and it's very public if you're gonna perform or go and whatever. And if I were scared or I don't know, didn't want it to be known, I would never begin with it in the first place.
We're not making music that touches any of these subjects. It's just maybe a love song, maybe something like more metal, more grungy, about like inner emotions, but we haven't really touched any of these issues with our music in Skopje, right?
Yeah, and those topics rarely come up even outside of rehearsals, like just.
Oh no, I like to poke the bear. So
I like discussing. Happened, but also I don't think it's a main topic.
And it's during the time in Skopje, it's irrelevant.
Yeah,
we're there to make music. If we get drunk and start having those conversation and comparing war songs, we're doing that. But it's not coming out of like anything other than us trying to have fun.
Yeah. No, I grew up with the idea of you're sharing a space, deal with it in a way that was normal. My parents never told me to have any fears or hate or whatever, and I've always lived with neighbors of different nationalities, so I think it's been with me before the music part.
No. For me, I think I'm a bit older than you, right?
Yeah.
I'm 25, so I grew up right after the war, and my family has been living in the north before the war, and they all had to move to the south during and after it. So for me, fear has been something that existed within my household, and it had been engraved in me, like do not go to the north, do not do this, do not do that. And I think it was justified for my parents to give me that notion of fear. But times are changing, people change, and just I had to experience it for myself. The first time I came to the north was a while ago to help on a dog shelter, and it was the first time I was here, and I felt alien, and I was super afraid, but slowly but surely, like touching the waters and seeing if it's deep myself had become the reason why those fears are removed.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's something you're gonna come across not depending on your household, because there's people in your circle that are gonna be like, you have to be afraid, it's scary, that and that happened. And yes, of course, I've also had to experience it for myself, but for my household, I haven't had any issues with it or myself.
Yeah, that's good. You're lucky about it.
Yeah.
Deep-rooted issues come from real big problems. So, of course, having to deal with them and actually face them and see for yourself, for me, it took a lot of courage, but I'm happy that was the case. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And I enjoy having conversation with you, not only here, but in Skopje. And
Thank you, also. As I mentioned, they don't really care. They just see it as me making music, and it doesn't matter to them who I'm making it with. It's just something I do.
I think the outcome of this would have been different if it was being held somewhere in the north, but since it was held in Skopje, and after I came back home, I would share stories, and they started getting more and more comfortable with it. And now, even if it happened like way beyond Sarlazar, they wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Because I've told them things as they truly are, and they understand. But of course, that fear wouldn't have been removed that easily if this whole thing would have happened in Skopje.
Yeah.
In the north and not
Yeah,
Skopje.
of course, making sure is obviously a part of it, but I don't think it's ever been a big problem. Same as I do with music, I think. I just doubt the opportunity would be as common as it is with the school and everything, but still living where we do, it's common enough, and there's events that happen also outside of music, but I don't think it would be as common.
I had joined a lot of NGO whatever camps about reconciliation and stuff like that, but none were as effective for me as a person as Skopje was. I think with these camps you can just pick sides, still go with your own kind, but then with music we're stuck there making music together, and like it or not, we have to make most out of it.
Yeah, people come up with different attitudes to those two situations, so I think having a common point, whereas discussing the common point is much better than...
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with this. It's a mix of both. Like, we cannot just see these things as, oh, this happened, so everything has become this way. I think the issues are much more complex and can be tackled collectively. Everything has to be tackled one at a time, and then slowly have that sense of things being the way they are, they're supposed to, whatever. It's just that I think this camp music, like being together with people from different ethnicities, helps a lot, but it doesn't necessarily just fix everything.
Yeah, it doesn't fix anything, because
exactly.
I mean, you make connections, you make friends, and it's one by one, it's a little step, but still the actual problems or like the apparent division that's outside of the rooms isn't apparent in the rooms at all, because you're focused on spending time together as friends, musicians, and creating music. So I think
it helps humanize each other, but it doesn't necessarily... It
helps one person at a time, but I don't think...
It can do more, like now I have a change of opinion, a change of heart, and when I speak to my friends about someone I met in Skopje, they will hear a good version of that person, and maybe it will help them, but it, as I said, the impact is more in the individual level than it can be in...
Yeah, but it obviously affects the community.
It does affect the community. Be kind to each other.
Be kind, my friend. Not cliche. Make it not cliche. I don't know. Just don't care. Do what you want to do. Everyone's a stranger either way. Get the identity to the side, and then if you don't agree, you don't agree. Stay away.
I don't know how cliche now my message would be, but I just think do not be a sheep. We all know we live in a world full of problems, in a world full of hatred, and every single person is damaged.
It's not something to be ignored, but if you can change someone's mindset, give up.
But what I personally mean is, just because everyone thinks that way doesn't necessarily you need to think that way before you test it.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to
put yourself out there.
Exactly.
Put yourself out there, meet people for who they are, not what's years and years behind them.
Everyone is an individual. No one's like in Albanian, in Albanian there is a saying, you're not connected by the belly button cord or something. So I don't know how to use that in English, but you're an individual.
Yeah, we have the same saying. So be yourself. Meet people for who they are, not the general opinion.
Yes, cijelj, pik,